your time with me yesterday.
No, I think this looks great. I think it's,
Well, I
think
also
we made a
visited-
lot of progress.
I also visited the site, and he's certainly done a lot since I visited it before, but whether he can make it by June the 30th or not, I'm not really sure. There's an awful lot of work needs to be done here. And I would like to ask our city attorney, is it possible for us to draw up an agreement with him that says if he does not finish it by June the 30th, he would agree to be fined at a regular fine rates for people who do not complete the project under the time level of the ordinance?
Did you say June the 5th?
June the 30th.
Mr. Mayor, that would be somewhat problematic in that you would be potentially singling out one specific homeowner as opposed to everyone so similarly situated in the past, present, or future. Now, if the city were to adopt some kind of an ordinance that allowed for such a penalty, I think you'll find the uniform codes do not. Right now, in fact, there is no penalty for failing to complete a project in a timely manner other than you can rescind the building permit. Once you rescind the building permit for them to move forward, they have to come in and pay, I think it's a double fee. It's almost like a penalty, but there isn't the ability to contract with somebody once they started the project or moving forward, unless at some point in time the contract, for instance, if the building permit itself were to be revoked for inactivity, at that point in time you might want to look at coming up with a regulation that applies evenly to everyone so that nobody's
But we do have one of these.
Yeah.
We do have identified fines for people that go over the time.
Again, those fines can be applied, but you can't contract for something special for this individual. I may have misunderstood the question.
No, I'm just saying that if he agrees to this, and he agrees that he does not finish it in time, I mean, he agrees to it, we're not forcing it on him, is that legal?
As long as there's no penalties, he doesn't agree. Because you're not forcing it on him, and you can't say, he didn't do it, therefore now we're going to penalize him.
That means he's already 6 months over the allowed time.
Again, Mr. Mayor, I'd have to look at it
Okay.
away from tonight and find out if there's a history or something. I'd be happy to come back with some kind of report on what you can do. Maybe
All right, well, that would be good anyway. I guess the feeling of the council at the moment, as far as I can see, is that we let him continue and hope he finishes by June the 5th. Is that correct?
That is correct. Mr. Mayor, if I may, I can work with the city attorney and bring him up to speed on what our municipal code calls for in this. And maybe I can include any comments, he and I might come collaboratively together about that comment at our next meeting.
I will now open this item up to the public.
If I may, would you also include the email and with regard to other properties in similar positions and what, an omnibus solution, not just with regard to this gentleman's project.
And we are working toward all of that. Yes.
Okay. Do we have any members of the public who wish to comment on this item? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to the council. Do we need a vote on this?
It's just
No.
It's just
Okay, we now go to the items that were pulled off the agenda, and we'll start with item number 11. So we have 3 council members that pulled that item off the agenda.
Okay, Mr. Mayor and fellow council members, I had a comment, just comments on this. First off, I have support for the project moving forward, but my comments pertain to essentially some deficiencies that I see within the written contract that's presented here, in addition to the fact that what's being put before the council actually didn't have any of the attachments in there that had the key personnel, the scope of service, the payment terms. At least they weren't in my book, and they would. I'd like to have actually seen them, but I believe that there should be some clauses in here that actually serve to protect the town a little bit more. in the event that some of this activity here does not go on. So some comments along the lines would be, a comment that there are some dependencies on the town here, that the town is supposed to participate in some of these activities. The town would be held harmless in the event of a delay. I think that reading the proposal, some of the items in there was, for their selection was based on the strength of some of the people that were actually named. So I think it should be a key personnel clause in here that obligates the contractor to actually have those people work on the deal. There needs to be a liability clause in here that in the event of something that they've done for us turns out to not have been done well, not due to negligence, but causes a problem for us downstream, that we would also be held harmless on that. I've reviewed those discussions with John, and I've offered to work with John and with Bill on trying to get those contract terms drafted up if everyone agrees that that's okay. That's my comment on this.
Kathy?
Well, this is something that Neil and Lisa worked on, and the library really sort of had a hands-off position, because the JPA didn't really want the library selection committee involved in this too much. So they wanted us to sort of keep a back seat on this, and wanted the environmental part of it to go forward with us not being too involved in it. So
The contract needs to, my comment was the contract needs to be tightened up.
Yeah, and so I would ask Lisa, is this something that's standard for the industry? That's what Neil, when he presented it to the library selection committee, indicated it was a standard contract.
Correct. It's the town standard form of consultant services agreement that we utilized.
In my reading, and I work with contracts all the time, as you know, I think this is a deficient contract. It doesn't adequately protect the town. And I recommend that we strengthen it a little bit.
Elizabeth?
Okay, my comments are, what is the town's financial liability in approving this contract? And then in obviously my packet also, the scope of work says to be inserted, schedule of performance and compensation, and the consultant. So there were these giant holes in it, and how much is it going to cost the town? And I just want to make sure that this is the library's financial responsibility, and it's not the town's financial responsibility. And that a site has, I want to say, first and foremost, I'm very, very excited about building a new library. I'm very, in support of this project. So don't get me wrong with saying that I'm not. I just, want to make sure that the library's got lots of money, the town doesn't, and that we're not putting the town in approving this is going to have to come out of pocket for any part of this contract.
All of as it says under the financial impact, all costs of the services are paid for at the library building fund, and that includes costs for the staff time associated with the project. It says under the financial impact in the staff report. And Neil stated that as well when he gave this report this week to us.
Okay.
The proposal is attached, pages.
Let me just make the other
sorry.
others' comments first.
I already think I made my comments about having a cost accounting mechanism here for actually, as I understand, we haven't had the ability to have department heads, for example, time be passed on or be added to a project. I may be slightly mistaken on that. But communique I got from Louise that I'm led to believe that the mechanism is being worked on, and I'll reiterate again that even the city manager, putting much time to this, ought to put his time down against the project.
Okay, thank you. I'll now turn it over to the public. With any public comments?
Denise Perman, 74 Atherton Avenue. I understand that you want to take careful consideration of this particular item. I would like to say that we did rely on the town's standard contract for professional services, and that it was reviewed by the city attorney. And if the town feels that there are deficiencies in the town's standard contract, certainly the comments are valid. And I would encourage us maybe to always take a hard look at our contracts. However, we did, in good faith, bring it forward and have it carefully reviewed, and at this point, we feel fairly comfortable. We did spend a great deal of time with Neil defining the scope of services. We have a very good understanding of what the schedule will be. We do have a firm commitment that they will meet our schedule, which is tight. The library is planning on having a committee meeting at the end of June. And it's critical that the environmental studies be done prior so that we have enough information to bring forward to the committee at large when we have a meeting, and we would regret not having that information in time. I'm trying to see, and then again, I certainly understand the comments regarding staff time related to the library, this project in particular. In fact, overall, over the history of the library, very little staff time has been devoted to the library specifically. Over the last few months, I would say maybe there has been a little bit of change in that staff time has been dedicated to attending our meetings on a monthly basis. And given that the project will be, the scope of the project will be changing and accelerating over time, that we need to address that issue, and we look forward to working with you on that. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, we've had some fairly serious comments by the council, and one of the things that I'm wondering if we could approve this based upon modifications to the consultant services agreement as proposed by both Council Member Whitmer and Council Member Lewis. Is that? And Carlson. Is that acceptable?
I think, I would hope that we could do that, because as Denise said, we have a
Tight
public,
guideline.
a very tight guideline, and we have a public meeting scheduled for the third week in June, and these issues are going to be paramount importance to be answered prior to that public meeting. I don't think that there is an indemnification provision in here. It has been reviewed by an outside law firm. This is the standard consultant agreement we've been using for years in the town. It has the insurance provisions that ABAG has requested, the $1 million. So, I'd be happy to have Bill work with Bill and Elizabeth. I think Jerry's comments have been addressed, and we will continue to address them as far as staff time and accounting for that. But to the extent that Bill could work with Bill and Elizabeth and make sure that their comments are adequately addressed in the agreement, I think we could go forward with this, with the understanding that this agreement will be beefed up to the extent that they feel it's necessary.
Bill, how do you feel about it?
As I said, I'm willing to do that. I can be available as early as Monday.
Elizabeth?
That would be fine with me. I agree with Vice Mayor Weaver that there are some
Well,
holes in this.
I would say that we have to be careful with standard agreements, because we've had a lot of standard agreements here in the past that frankly didn't hold water. So I sort of appreciate the two council members looking at this from a more common sense viewpoint. I'm not too happy sometimes with standard agreements. So how we do this, I will move that the city council approve a professional agreement with LSA Associates for the preparation, environmental analysis, and CEQA environmental documents associated with site selection and approval process of the new library building service, and authorize the city manager to sign the agreement once the agreement has been